Chinch, support this week for the mayor's office is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0, baby. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code THEMAYOR at manscaped.com. I tell you what, though, I love these things, Chinch. I've had Manscaped 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and this is the 4.0. This one has a new sleek design. It's perfect for guys like me, though, dude. I'm one of the hairiest guys going.
That's a fact.
And that's the fact. And forever, man, forever, I've been looking for the best trimmers. Even going way back years when I was playing, I'd always nick myself up, cut myself as the worst. These trimmers right here, man, they are the best. They are the absolute best. Trims up my back, trims up my arm, the jewels, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But this trimmer is the absolute best. The 4.0, the Lawnmower from Manscaped.
I can vouch for that. I know Sean wears a sweater 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and he needs this. He sent me one. I'm so psyched. I shave with it. That's how good it is. That's how
yeah, and Chinch, I've tried every one you could try. Every clipper you could possibly buy, I've tried.
Yeah.
This by far is the best.
Yeah, Sean puts a clipper on his, it'll break the clippers, but not the Manscaped.
Yeah.
So here's what you gotta do.
Everyone should have this, bro. Everyone should have one of these.
They absolutely should. So here's how you get it, okay? You get 20% off and free shipping with the code THEMAYOR, right, Sean? The Mayor?
Yes.
At manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping, manscaped.com, and use the code THEMAYOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped, and you can look as clean as Casey does now. When he doesn't use a Manscaper, it's like Sasquatch. There's people call cops. Unbelievable.
Lawnmower 4.0. Go get it. It's unbelievable, Chinch.
Do it.
Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brenneman here, and you're stepping inside the mayor's office. Here's your host, Sean Casey.
Bam, we're at it again, Chinch.
Yes,
One
we
more
are.
time, baby. We're back in business. And this week it's going to be a good one. I got spider webs, I feel, in the area. So that might give you a clue of who I'm about to bring in. But I'm going to let's see. I got some things written down here. And Chinch, we were talking before. We almost figured we could do like 5 hours with this guy. We're gonna respect his time and keep it low.
We could do like a 6-part documentary series on how amazing of an athlete this next person
exactly,
is.
dude. So listen, this guy right here, one of the greatest athletes probably professional sports has ever seen. And I don't think he gets talked about enough. That's why we're going to talk about him a ton today. Played in the NFL and Major League Baseball. Dominated, was a 1991 Pro Bowler until the St. Louis Cardinals said, hey, how about $1.7 million to play baseball full time? He's like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm out of here, right? So then he goes and plays Major League Baseball, 15-year big league career, 1999 All-Star. This is a good one, too. He once had a higher kick return average in football than his teammate, one of my teammates, primetime Deion Sanders.
That's good.
Which is pretty cool. He's the only person in the history of the world to have been an enforcer alongside Deion on the gridiron and to protect Mark McGwire in the lineup in 1998, one of the greatest seasons Summers has ever seen. Listen, in 1996, Sports Illustrated listed him as one of the 15 greatest college athletes of all time. It was a class that included Bo Jackson, John Elway, Wilt Chamberlain, Jim Brown, Dave Winfield, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, just to name a few.
Jesus.
And this guy was number 10 on the list. So let's bring him in. You know, not only is he one of the best athletes this world's ever seen, probably one of the best humanitarians too. Also, we were alumni together at University of Richmond. So, you know, this guy's an absolute stud. Let's bring him in. My man, Brian Jordan. What's up, BJ?
What's up, Case, man? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, dude. I'm doing great. It's so funny, bro. Like, when I got to University of Richmond in 1992, you were there a few years earlier, but it was like you were just making the big leagues. You had just got done with the NFL. And it was so funny because, Coach Atkins, was so proud. Everybody's so proud. Like, oh, man, that's Brian Jordan. That's our guy, University of Richmond. But I remember having a lot of pride, like thinking like, oh, that's our guy right there. So take us back a little bit, bro, to you growing up in the Baltimore area and really, choosing football or baseball and coming to the University of Richmond. Can you just talk about what your thought process was there and what made you choose Richmond?
It was interesting, man, because growing up in Baltimore, Maryland, my parents made me write down my dream early on when I was very young. And my dream was to be different. I wanted to play 2 professional sports because my dad was a great athlete and my granddad would always brag about how good my dad was. So I wanted to be better than my dad. And my mom being an educator, of course, I had to write down my goals on how I'm going to reach that dream. And, Baltimore, University of Maryland was probably the top school for me. And believe it or not, basketball was my favorite sport. So
wow.
I was a big Lynn Bias fan, man, at the University of Maryland. And when they recruited me, I used to sit behind the bench and watch him play, man. And they had me as a junior. It gave me a full scholarship. So I didn't take any trips to any other college. And I had a lot of big colleges around the world coming after me to play football, play baseball. But Maryland was that school. And then when I was ready to sign the dotted line as a senior, Bobby Ross was the head coach there. And he said, you got to sit out your freshman year of baseball. And I looked back at my parents and I was like, it's no way I can miss a season of baseball. So I decided to go to University of Richmond. And, of course, they would let me do anything to come to University of Richmond. So that was a great opportunity for me. And it worked out great academically. Graduation was, the number one thing. I had to graduate from college. And I was just fortunate. Blessed to have those opportunities to play 2 professional sports.
How did you navigate that, though? Because, dude, I know I played. Obviously, I'm not even close to the athlete you were, but I played baseball, playing Division I baseball at Richmond. And it was a tough school academically. I was overwhelmed at times. How did you manage the football and the fall and the spring? Did you do football at all in the spring, or were you done when baseball started?
That was the best thing about it, man. I didn't do any spring football, man. That's when guys awesome. Killed each other out there. So I'm just laughing at them when I go off the baseball. I didn't have to deal with all that pain. But you know what? I had a great guidance counselor who really kept me focused, prioritized my time. And Richmond just did a great job of making you focus on academics along with sports. And that was number one. I wanted to graduate and still have that opportunity to play 2 professional sports.
There's a big pride thing, by the way, real quick. Casey getting caught in a web. The pride of Richmond athletes. I got a lot of friends who are athletes. I just had my 25th high school reunion, and a dude who went to Richmond after you guys came up to me. He's like, Sean Casey, oh my God, him and Jordan, they are like the Michael Jordan of our, and everybody brags about you guys, and everybody brags about that school down there. It's
the
cool.
Mayor, baby, the mayor, Sean Casey, baby, you gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude! Hey, listen, it's a small place, so when guys like us come out, they're like, oh yeah, it's not like so it's a big deal. Brian, for you though, you ended up being a first-round pick by the Cardinals, right? Mm-hmm. For baseball, you were a 7th-round pick by the Bills, right? For football.
Let me talk about that.
Talk about that. Talk to me.
You know what? After my junior year at Richmond, we played the Richmond Braves in an exhibition, and Derek Lilliquist was like the Braves' top prospect. And he was the starting pitcher that day, and I just raked against him. And I'm sitting there like, man, if this is the top prospect, I can play Major League Baseball. And this is the year they had like Dave Justice out there, Mark Lemke. And I'm looking at those guys as being one step away from the big leagues. So after that game, the St. Louis Cardinal scout came up to me and, too many hits in the head. I can't remember the scout's name, but he said, we want to draft you first round. And I said, wow, that sounds cool, but I'm coming back to graduate and play another year of football. And so through negotiations, they signed me on the condition that I could come back, graduate from college, and play my redshirt junior year. And so I went off to Ontario, Canada, to play like 30 rookie ball games. And I hit over like 350. And then I went back to school and had a really good year. And I was projected to be a 3rd-round pick at cornerback. So I had to go to the Senior Bowl and prove myself. And I played with Dan Reeves and the coaching staff he had at Denver at the time. And all week in practice, I was knocking heads and having fun. So after that week of practice, I was projected to be either the 1st or 2nd safety taken in the 1st round, me or Steve Atwater. Wow. So I was on a high, man. I was like 1st round in baseball, 1st round in football. And then in the 1st quarter of the Senior Bowl, I break my leg and dislocate my ankle.
No.
And I still went to the combine on crutches and the cast, and every doctor that looked at my leg said it was so severe that I wouldn't play football. And, from there, I just had to prove them wrong. And I had surgery, and in 3 months, I was running straight ahead. I couldn't go side to side 100%, but as long as I could go that way, I was going to knock somebody out. And Buffalo gave me that opportunity, and I led all defensive backs in training camp. So I thought I made the team, and so they didn't come get my blue book. So I'm all excited. I get down, and I'm in the weight room training, and Marv Levy calls me in his office and said I was a 46 man on a 45-man roster. And, that was the years that Buffalo was like,
it was legit.
They were like in the Super Bowl every year. Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, they had a great team. So I was really disappointed that I didn't make that team, but he wanted me to stay on injured reserve for the year. And I said, look, after taking all that pain in training camp, release me. If I don't come back, then, if nobody picked me up, I'll come back to Buffalo. But I didn't even leave the parking lot, and the Atlanta Falcons was already calling. So that was the reunion of me and Deion Sanders coming together. And, man, had a lot of fun in Atlanta.
Dude, where was your heart, though, bro? Where was your heart? You were playing minor league baseball, and then you're all of a sudden, trying to get to the NFL. Like, how does that work? Where was your heart through this whole thing? Where did you want to go?
You know what? My heart was in football. I love football. I love the contact. I love the camaraderie on that field. So football was my number one. And I wanted to prove those doctors wrong. And, of course, I went down to Atlanta, watched Deion and everybody else, because that was the year they were just awful. Yeah. And you're just sitting there watching Deion score touchdowns and play by himself. But then I finally got my opportunity to play with him. And, man, we just turned it around with when Glanville came in. And, there was the Men in Black then, and we had a lot of fun. And, my 3rd year alternate in the Pro Bowl, man, I was starting to take off. Yeah. And I wasn't ready to give up football at the time, but, how can you turn down a sport that's a lot safer than football?
Yeah. Do you have, bro, I watched a bunch of your films, wow, could you hit? Matter of fact, Chinch went and got some comps. Yeah. And your comps
on Pro
for
Football,
the NFL,
on Pro Football Reference. Yeah.
Football Reference. We're like, who's BJ comp to? Ronnie Lott and Rod Woodson.
And I'm
like,
hey,
what?
That was my guy, Ronnie Lott, man. I wanted to be just like him, man. And, it's funny. After my career, his career, I talked to him, and he's like, damn, I wish I'd have played baseball instead of football. his body is jacked up right now, man. And I'm sitting there saying, man, I'm glad I got out when I did.
Yeah. Dude, what's the difference? I know in Major League Baseball, I just know, trying to be calm in the box, slow the game down. I'm facing Randy Johnson. I got a 92-mile-an-hour slider. I got to try and hold the position, shoot balls in the gaps. And I always said, I remember a coach told me one time, you can't have a football mentality in baseball, right? So, can you take us into the mind of what was it like being an NFL safety and the mentality of that to being an all-star big leaguer? How are they different?
You know what? I tell my son, who's 10 years old, playing football right now, I said, kill or be killed. That's the attitude you got to have in the game of football, because, you don't want to be that one that takes the hit. So you better dish it out. And that's the way you play. You play aggressive. And it's great what that coach told you. you cannot play baseball with a football mentality. Because when I first came in the league, that's exactly what I did. And I remember facing Brett Saberhagen. He threw one up under my chin, and I just had that football mentality. I'm going to kill him on that mound. And next thing you know, he went neck, head, and over there, and I'm swinging for the fences. And, this is my first lesson by Ozzie Smith when I walked back. And you guys know Red Fox and Sanford Son. Oh, yeah. I walked back and he said, "You big dummy, this is not football, this is baseball." And that was my first lesson, man. That's great. You gotta leave that aggressiveness on the football field and be patient in the game of baseball.
Oh my gosh, man, that is so great. Well, and like another guy that obviously did what you did, and it's amazing that you guys played on the same team in the NFL, was Deion Sanders, who was one of my favorite teammates ever. Yeah. I think he was a little less prime when he was with me in 2001 than when he was with you in Atlanta in 1990 and 91. Can you talk about Deion? Like, what made him so special out on that football field?
He was smart. I mean, I tell everybody, forget about his athleticism. Yeah, he's fast, he's quick, but he studied film like no other. And he led by example on the field, and everything became a competition. And that made everybody better on the ball club. So I loved his mentality. I loved his attitude. He made everybody around him better. And that's the part that people don't know about Deion Sanders. This guy didn't use foul language. He didn't drink. He signed everything he could sign for kids. And I just loved his spirit, man. And, I wanted to continue to play football because I was getting there. I was right there. And he was going to teach me how to study. I didn't even know how to study football. All through Richmond, those big schools got everything. So they know everything. So I was still learning the game of football. And this guy, he knew it. And he knew what was going to happen before it happened. And that's why he was so great.
What I went back and looked at an awesome highlight, and I think it was a big game. It was back when you guys took on the Niners, and I remember it was like Deion versus Jerry Rice. Yeah. And I believe there was a play where Deion went back and he kind of ruffled it, and you picked it off. Like he put it in there, you picked it off, and then bam, you got it back to Deion, thinking, hey, we get it into Deion's hands. It's safe. Can you take us back to that game, when it was Deion versus Jerry Rice and that game, Falcons versus the Niners?
Well, before that game, we played the Niners, and Glanville said, well, we're not going to have Deion cover Jerry Rice. And what happened? Jerry Rice scored 5 touchdowns. So this game was the game. And to watch to me, greatest guys at their positions go at it. And for me, my job is so easy when I see Deion on my side. It's one-on-one. I'm going to let you go. I will hit everybody that's moving your way. But as long as you pick off the ball or we can get the ball in his hands, something great is going to happen. And to see both of those guys going after that ball, nobody giving up, and the ball ends up on Jerry Rice's helmet, and I say, this is an easy interception right here. But the first person I looked for was Deion, man.
That was in my childhood one of the greatest games I've ever seen. And no matter, it was one of the most exciting football games I have ever seen in my life. I just a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you see out of the corner of your eye when Deion tried to shake his hand before the first play?
Oh, I loved it, man. I loved it, and I loved Jerry Rice's. You know what? The hardest I've ever been hit, believe it or not, was Jerry Rice. He blindsided me when I came up on the line for a blitz, and I didn't see him coming. Wow. And I swear a lineman hit me. But it tells you how good Jerry Rice is. He wasn't just a great receiver. He was a complete player, man. Mm-hmm. He wasn't afraid to stick his head in there and hit you. He did his job. He protected his teammates. And I thought that was so cool with Deion trying to shake his hand and he didn't want to shake it. That's competition, baby. I love it.
Yeah. What was it when you look back, Brian? What was your favorite game? Like, is there a game that you remember in your NFL career that you look back and say, man, that was something special?
My favorite game was against the Saints, man. That's the rivalry of the Falcons. And we beat them in the first round of the playoffs. And I blocked Morton's kick at the end of the game. And nobody ever talks about it. Right. But I got my finger on his ball, and all of a sudden it was like 10 yards short, which is it's an easy kick for him. But that was such a fun game and exciting because you got two rivalries going at it in the playoff environment. And to come out on top in New Orleans was just fun. And everybody laughed about the Men in Black because we would pick off the ball, toss it back, keep tossing it back until we get in the end zone. And those announcers thought we were crazy when the game's on the line, still tossing the ball back. And next thing you know, we scored a touchdown at the end of the game.
That was so great.
You know, it was great. It was a lot of fun playing with Glanville and MC Hammer and
Hammer.
Too legit.
Had it going on.
Too legit to quit.
That's right.
How was Glanville? What was he like? He just seemed like a character. He was a character, man. He was one of those guys you love him as a coach, but you would hate him if you were working with the media because he would crush the media every time they get close to the field. And he wasn't afraid to tell you his opinion. He would cuss you out in a second, but he would hug you at the same time. So I thought with bringing him into Atlanta, he brought discipline to the team. And defensively, man, we were just crazy. We just came. That's the way he taught it. And that's the way we played the game, man. Balls out every play. And you got to love that if you're a football player. Well, speaking of balls out every play, like when I looked back, when you go back to football at the era you played, bro, especially at safety, when you think back to guys like Ronnie Lott who would make you pay. And like you were that kind of guy too. You come across Brian Jordan, you're going to pay. Yeah. But I saw a couple times like you guys, you guys would lead with your helmets. It was a different ball game then. Can you talk about the NFL now? And what do you think about, the tackling? What do you think about flags being thrown every play? Because that drives me crazy. But what about the NFL now?
I would have lost a lot of money right now playing in the game because back in my era, we were taught to lead with the front of your helmet. And, that's helmet to helmet. We didn't even think about concussions back then. So I kind of like that they're trying to change the game and make it safer. But the only problem is, now you see more lower extremity injuries, ankles, knees. I mean, every week is something different. Guys' hamstring. I'm like, how is hamstrings getting hurt so much now? Because guys are getting drilled in those legs now. So it's a different game. I like the fact at the youth level they're teaching them to keep that helmet out of there. But it's difficult, man. You're going 100 miles an hour. It's going to happen. And I hate, especially in college football, I hate to see those young men going there, giving their best effort, and either the running back receiver puts his head down at the same time, and you get tossed out of the game with a targeting penalty. I mean, sometimes I think it's unfair, it's unintentional, but they're trying to make the game safer. I get it.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes when you're going full speed, though, like it's tough to like make an adjustment, Yeah.
Oh, it is. There's no question about it. You're going 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's the way you're taught on a football field. So it's going to happen. It's a shame that the defensive guy always pays the price.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Dude, so like your love for football, it's funny to hear you talk right now. There's a certain passion in your heart for the game, obviously. But after 91, you go to the All-Pro. You're an All-Pro in football. But then all of a sudden, you're made an offer by the Cardinals that really you couldn't refuse to leave football and go to baseball. Can you take us back to that story? Like, what happened there?
Yeah. It was tough, man. I'm going to be honest, because football, I was just starting to take off, and that was my passion, football. But, I would leave and go play 30-something games in the minor league. So I didn't play a lot of minor league baseball each year. I would, after 35, 40 games, I'm like, I'm in the weight room getting ready for football. So I really didn't give baseball a fair shot. So after the 3 years, I went to Glanville, and the president said, hey, you better hurry up and re-sign me to a deal or the Cardinals are going to come calling. And the Falcons dragged their feet. And I said, well, the Cardinals offered me a 3-year guaranteed deal. I got to give baseball a full shot. And it's funny, Sean, because I used to call baseball players wimps, as a player in the NFL. And as I played my first 162 games, I was like, I got a new respect for baseball, man. It is a grind mentally and physically, man. So yeah, I had a new respect for those guys. And, man, I had good leadership, though, with Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee. They brought me in well. And it didn't take me long, man. I didn't play a lot of minor league baseball and jump right to the big leagues. That helped out a lot, too.
What's some of the best advice Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee gave you?
Slow the game down. because I was going 100 miles an hour. Like you said, I had that football mentality. I'm diving all over the place, killing my body. And Ozzy's like, man, get off the ground, man. And I'm like looking at Ozzy dive all over the place saying, how can you talk? But but I had to slow the game down, man. And I remember when I first got up, I was seeing nothing but fastballs, and I was just crushing them. And I'm sitting there saying, this game is easy. And then Doug Drabeck on a Monday night game on ESPN struck me out 4 times on curveballs, and I found my way back in the minor leagues real quick. It was lessons learned along the way, but the great thing about it is I was able to make some adjustments pretty quick, and that's something that a lot of guys can't do. And so it paid off for me to put in the work and have great guys around me to teach the game.
It's funny when you look back when you first got called up. I always like to ask guys, when you first got called up, like, can you tell us the story of you just getting called up to the big leagues?
It was crazy, man, because Ted Simmons was my GM.
Oh, jeez.
And if you know Ted Simmons, he's crazy. I love him. But I had just played in Double-A the year before and played 30-something games. And I was like, hey, I had a great spring training and big league camp. And I'm saying, okay, I'm going to Triple-A. No doubt about this. I'm going to Louisville. And he looked at me and said, no, I'm sending you back to Arkansas. So we going back and forth. I mean, we are, he's going to cuss me out. I'm cussing him back out. And he said, you know what? I'm going to send you to Louisville. And that first week, if you are hitting 100, I'm sending you all the way back to Florida State League. I said, let's go, baby. Let's go. I accept that challenge.
Yes.
So now I'm on my way to Louisville, and I stopped through Atlanta where my house was to spend the night with the family. And all of a sudden I get this call, and it's Ted Simmons. And he's saying, hey, you're on a flight in the morning to St. Louis. And I'm like, what? You were just sending me to Double-A. Because Andres Galarraga on opening night got hit in the wrist, broke his wrist. Oh, yeah. And that was my first day in the big leagues, man. It was crazy. I got off the plane, went to the clubhouse, and my name was in a lineup. I'm like, holy cow.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't even have enough time to panic. And then I went there and went 2 for 5 with 4 RBIs, and I was like, this game is easy. I love to play. I told Ted Simmons, see, I told you I should have been in Louisville.
That's awesome.
That's so great. Oh, my God. That's so great. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was a crazy first experience, man.
That is so great. Who were the veterans on that team besides, was Ozzy there, Willie there? Who were some of the other guys
Willie
on that
McGee,
team?
I mean, shoot, man. Jose Akendo.
Yeah.
We had Gerald Perry, the old crafty pitch hitter. Todd Worrell, who was like
Todd Worrell, yes.
Oh my gosh, man. We had Rick Honeycutt was there, Alan Bennett, Andy Bennett. So we had a pretty good young team, man. We were young. Ray Langford, one of the younger guys, and Bernard Gilkey, we were the outfield. So it was some fun times.
Wow.
That's some. Yeah. Go ahead,
I was going to ask one question. So when you make this transition, were there football people who told you you're being dumb? And were there baseball people who didn't want to accept you and say, get out of here, you're a football player?
Well, baseball, of course, everybody was like, you're crazy for playing football when you got talent to play baseball.
Yeah, right.
So I went through all that. But when I started playing baseball, there was a lot of football people saying, you should still be in the NFL. What are you doing? You were taking off. And, after my first 3 years with the Cardinals, that deal ran out. And Al Davis of the Raiders called and wanted to sign me to a 2-year deal.
Oh, my gosh.
And, I'm like, Raider Nation, holy cow. But then the Cardinals offered me another 3-year deal, and I was like, it's not meant for me to go back. So I stuck with baseball.
Nice.
Oh, my God. Did Deion and you ever have a conversation about the football-baseball conversation of what you should do?
You know what? We didn't have that conversation. We would always talk about it, during the football times we played together. But we never had that conversation when my 3rd year was up and all the, hype about me going to play baseball. I think he was mad at me because, I was a big part of that defense. And, when I left, they were moving into the new dome, and the defense was bad. I mean, I used to watch the games, and I turned them off because I was so mad that the safety that they signed, he sucked. And the defense was bad. I mean, they ended up, after having a winning season in 91, I think they only won, 4 games that next year, man. And I think everybody Deion was mad because I left. and that's why eventually he left and won some rings with Dallas and San Francisco. So, yeah, so I think he took it hard when I left and just stuck with baseball.
Yeah. It's funny playing with Deion in baseball. This is what I think so special about Brian Jordan. He was so physical on the football field, and you're an all-pro there. But then you go to baseball, bro, and you're an all-star. You're like, I remember watching you play. I'm like, that guy's different than everyone out here. Like, I'm hitting balls. I'm running like I'm ice skating in quicksand. You look like you're about to, Ronnie Lott somebody in the outfield. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So, like, when I watch Deion play baseball, I say, you know what? Hey, Deion is a pretty good baseball player. He does some things with his speed that are different. But you were different, bro, as far as, like, you were an impact bat on the field. And I also, the other thing was, bro, watching you play all these years and your approach to hitting, like you never struck out less than 88 times in a season. You were a power hitter that loved the right center gap too. Can you talk about how your approach as a hitter evolved, especially when you got to the big leagues?
Well, when I first came up to the big leagues, I had that big leg kick because I was just thinking about just hitting home runs. I mean, I would have loved to play the game today. Just swing for the fences, lift that leg up and go.
That's all they do now.
But early on, I started that and I figured out, man, I'm taking away my speed. A part of this game that, I can score a lot of runs, I can steal bases. So I put that foot down, start spreading out and driving the ball, like you said, the right center field gap. Yeah. And, you make a mistake it's instinctive anyway. I didn't have a sweet swing that Sean Casey had. If you look at my different stances every year, you just never knew what you were going to get from me. I might have that straight leg sitting out there. And you know what? Growing up in Baltimore, Cal Ripken was that guy, watching him. 100 different
stances, hands up here, hands down there, low, high, yeah.
It all depended on how your body felt, and he would switch your stance. And that's where I adapted that, but my focus is always right center field. And use your speed, hit doubles, triples. And, Cardinals was a speed team anyway. So, playing with that really helped me adjust my swing, man. But I look back at it and I say, man, I could have way more home runs if I would have just kept with that leg kick. But to end my career with a 282 career average, man, I cannot complain about that.
Bro, your numbers were unbelievable as far as like you hit for average, you hit for power, you could steal bases, you played Gold Glove defense. I mean, you were a complete player. You talk about the Cardinals though in their speed, and then they started to evolve a little bit. My first year in the big leagues in '98 was my rookie year, and I still have a great picture of you and me at first base. Like I said, I was so excited. Richmond Spiders, Brian Jordan. Like I know McGuire was there and everything, but I was like, I can't wait to meet this Brian Jordan guy. Like this is the guy I've been waiting to meet since my freshman year in college. But can you take us back to that team, bro? Because for me, that summer in '98, man, of McGuire and Sosa going head to head. But the McGuire part of it, he was the only guy in my 12-year big league career that I came out to watch batting practice. I'm like, I've never seen balls going Big Mac land. Like I'm trying to hit a ball single up the middle. Big Mac's going deep into the third deck there at Busch Stadium. Dude, you were right in the middle of that lineup with him. Take us back to the summer '98. What was that like with the McGuire mania there in St. Louis?
Dude, everybody was talking about the pressure Mark McGwire trying to hit them home runs. It was pressure trying to hit behind him, man. He get booed all the time in batting practice. It was crazy. I mean, they would boo me in batting practice because Mark McGwire would lead the cage, and here come right center field gap hitting Brian Jordan. I hated BP, man, for a while, but no, that was just an awesome year, though, man. Mark McGwire, I loved playing with him. He was a great teammate, man, very humble. Through that whole home run chase, man, he he just kept the media out of the locker room. You know, he did such a professional. Yeah. And, you know, with Sammy Sosa, man, his personality, to me, that was the best ever, you know, because the two personalities, totally different from one another, but came together in the end, you know, with this home run chase, which changed baseball.
Yeah.
Brought baseball back on the map. And, you know, it's just a shame the way it ended with the whole media in the locker, you know, checking out the old.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. And I hated it for Mark McGwire, man, because he was such a good guy, you know, for the media to do that too. But, you know, it is what it is. But, man, what a year, man. It was a lot of pressure, though, man, to hit behind Mark because you knew you had to perform.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't get pitched to. And that was the fun part about it for me. I always loved the challenge. And good gracious, I had a lot of RBIs and scored a lot of runs that year.
Yeah.
So
you had a guy on first probably every other at bat. He was sitting on first base, right? When he walked.
Yeah, and I keep getting on him. I could have had way more RBIs if he wasn't running in front of me. I could have had some triples that turned into doubles because he had to stop, man. I was like, man.
Station to station. I know. I was going, oh, my God. Oh,
exactly.
My God.
Which I don't blame him, man. We couldn't lose him. So
yeah. Dude, I remember it's so funny. Like, it was my rookie year, and like, I think it was like, it was probably September, early September. You guys were in St. Louis. You came to Cincinnati, and he had 60 in St. Louis against us. And then you guys played the Cubs, and then you were coming to Cincinnati. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is going to work out perfect. He's going to hit one more against the Cubs. They're going to come to Cincinnati. He's going to hit 62 against us. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm like, I'm going to give him a huge hug. When he rounds first, I'll be like, dude, congratulations. You know what I mean? But he ends up hitting 62, I believe, in St. Louis. And then you guys, I don't know if you remember this, but you guys came to Cincinnati. 60,000 people sold out. I think McGwire wasn't even supposed to play, and he went into Russa's office like, listen, I got to play because these people are all here to see me. It was just, it was its own beast. Amazing. It was its own beast. It really was. Yeah.
And I tell you, he was the biggest human being I ever played with baseball, man. His forearms was bigger than my thighs, man. I was like, holy cow, man.
Yeah. He was a big boy, to say the least. Jeez.
Yes.
So we share something in common. After 98, you end up going to Atlanta. So before I ask what we share in common, what was it like for you to now go back to Atlanta as a baseball player?
You know what? I was courted that year because I was a free agent. And, going back to Baltimore hometown, I mean, they really pulled out the red carpet, and it was really close. And I went to New York at the Yankees. They had Bernie Williams. He was unsigned. I was unsigned. So that was fun just talking to Steinbrenner because all we talked was football. We didn't even talk baseball.
Time out. We wanted you. Fans wanted you. The other guy had a pretty good career, and they probably made a decent move. But as a native New Yorker, we were begging.
In the back of my mind, I knew Bernie Williams was a good fit in New York, and they wanted to keep him there. So, how can you turn down 3 Cy Young winners and Bobby Cox as a manager, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones? And I wanted to win, and Baltimore wasn't ready to win at the time. So, and that was home for me back in Atlanta. And, where my kids were going to school. So then there's a chance to, hit behind Chipper Jones. So it was enough pressure hitting behind Mark McGwire. I go to Atlanta, and I'm put in that number 4 spot behind Chipper. And Chipper won the MVP that year. And I had a phenomenal year, man. I think I hit the most RBIs of my career that year, and I hit like 25 home runs. But and you talk to him, he say, I thought Brian was going to get the MVP that year.
Wow.
But I think he hit 40-something home runs, so that was an easy pick. But it was a lot of fun, man. Chipper was probably one of the greatest hitters I ever hit behind, man. One at bat, we were playing against Philadelphia, and we're sitting in the box. He's ready to get up there and hit. And I said, Chip, what are you looking for? He said, you know what? He's going to throw me a changeup, and I'm going to hit it to the moon.
Come on.
I said, okay. He threw him 3 straight fastballs right down the middle. He walking back past me, and I'm like, what happened? He said, he didn't throw me the changeup. I'm like, I wish I was that good where I could wait on the changeup.
Oh, my
And the
God.
next at bat, same situation, Sean. We're up. He's ready to go up, and we're talking. And I'm like, dude, you better hit a fastball this time. He said, nope, he's going to throw me a changeup. And sure enough, he throws the changeup, and he hits it to the moon. I was like, this guy is the best, man. This is unbelievable.
Oh my
Wow.
Wow.
Dude, could you do that? Like I was a sit fastball adjust, I hunted the fastball, anything off speed, I adjusted to it. I heard Chipper, like Manny Ramirez was a guest hitter sometimes. Chipper, like, what was your approach at the plate? Because I couldn't do what Chipper Jones did.
My approach was see ball, hit ball, man. I didn't care what you throw. I just
Yeah.
if it's close as a strike, I'm gonna hit it somewhere, man.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
You know what? That's the crazy thing about it, man. I really never learned the game of baseball, man. I can sit here and listen to you talk hitting, and which I watch on MLB Network, man. I mean, this is what you guys came up on, man. You guys look for certain pitches, you didn't miss them. I didn't even learn to do that. It was see ball, hit ball. I don't care where you throw it. Let your abilities take over and drive the ball somewhere, man. So I wish I would have learned the game and probably spent a little more time in the minor leagues to learn it, but just didn't happen.
But no, it's amazing that you're like even you saying that to have the success you had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. Like just a lot of athleticism, eye-hand coordination,
Right.
and competition. I always tell kids too. I go, listen, I don't care how your swing feels. Sometimes you got to compete. Like that guy's trying to beat you. You're trying to beat him. We got a one-on-one grudge match. Like you just sometimes got to compete, right?
That's right. That's the bottom line, man. And young guys don't realize that, you know?
Yeah.
You got to compete every pitch, every play, especially defensively, man. I can't stand when guys let that ball drop in for a single when, you know, if you hustle and lay out for that ball, you know, you're saving your pitch. But you don't see that anymore.
Talk about the 99 All-Star game, because it was my first All-Star game too, bro.
Yeah.
And I know it was yours. And I remember at University of Richmond, they're like, oh man, 2 Richmond Spiders, like first time, we'd ever been to an All-Star game together. I thought that was really cool. And I still have that picture of you and me by the Green Monster.
Yeah, me too, man. That was awesome, man. Even better for you, man. Was that the second year?
It was my second year. Yeah.
Yeah.
My second year.
I mean, I'm admiring you, man. I'm like, look at this Spider come up here making his second year. That is awesome.
Oh,
but no, that was a lot of fun, man. You know, I told everybody, you know, playing in Boston and, you know, having all the greats come out, Ted Williams come out in the golf cart.
Best.
I didn't care if I made another All-Star game, man, because that was the best ever. It would never get better. And it was worth it, man. It was, man.
It was, I think it,
Go ahead.
I think it was the best one ever. Like, I mean, I think when people look back, they go,
absolutely.
Pedro's starting.
The Derby the night before, by the way, the Derby the night before was unbelievable. That was the best Derby. Yeah.
Junior and McGuire was hitting balls off the Sitco side. Griff's got his hat backwards, just freaking going deep like you wouldn't believe. It was unbelievable. I had one of the coolest moments ever, Brian, when we were going into when Ted Williams came out and the all-century team was out there and we were lined up. We go walking up and, man, I get a pat on my shoulder because we're going up to Ted Williams. Man, it's George Brett, bro. And he's like, hey, man, I just want to introduce myself. I'm George Brett. I'm like, it was the first time I was ever speechless. I was like, okay, I'm not. So he's like, really, really love your swing, man. That's really cool. I'm like, oh, my God, that's one of the coolest moments of my life. Fast forward, bro, Derek Jeter's last year, I'm doing the red carpet show with Greg Amsinger, and Jeter comes up, and we ask him, man, of all the championships you've had, all the 20 years, 3,000 hits, what's the greatest memory you've had in the big leagues? He goes, 99 All-Star game. We're walking up to the mound to be with Ted Williams, and Hank Aaron puts his hand on Jeter's shoulder and is like, hey, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Hank Aaron. It's great to meet you. Did you have a moment when that was all happening? Was there a moment for you walking up to Ted Williams there at Fenway?
You know, I did because, you know, growing up, I loved Joe Morgan in Cincinnati. And to see him out on the field, and, you know, Hank and I became such great friends in Atlanta. It was so many stars there, man. It was it was a privilege to be on the field with those guys, to be honest, man. You grow up watching them and they become great. And now you look at them, they aged a lot, but just to shake their hand, got a couple autographs from some of those guys, man. So memories I will never, ever forget.
So cool. So cool, man. Me too, man. Memories I'll never forget either.
Yep.
I want to ask about one guy, bro, because I think he gets overlooked as far as one of the greatest center fielders ever to play the game, but also I played against him in the minors. I played against him my whole career. And I think when you're watching greatness, you know guys are Hall of Fames. Can you talk to us about Andrew Jones, man? Like you played with the cat, especially in his prime. Like, I mean, I don't think Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine are as good as they were without him roaming center field.
You know what? I think you summed it up, man. This guy was probably the greatest outfielder I've ever played with. You know, we had games out there. We just make up stuff just to challenge each other, man. Watching him, you know, we would move all the way in just to see if somebody can hit the ball over our head. I mean, I've never seen anybody like him be so smooth, so graceful, and cover so much ground like him. I mean, he was just so fun to watch. Man, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, just defense alone. But, you know, he put up some really good numbers, too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's keeping him out of that conversation, but he definitely, in my eyes, deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
That brings up a thought to me. I forgot when you were talking about the Cards. Can we go back to how you might have been on the toughest outfield in the history of the world? You, Ronnie Gant, Langford, and then you got McGwire over there. You got Gaetti who was on that team. Nobody messed with your team. Did anybody ever mess with that team?
Was there ever a fight? Was there ever a brawl with that team?
No, it was never a brawl with that team.
Unbelievable.
But no, that was a really good team, man. We had that was a fun year. Fun year.
Nice.
3-1 up on the Braves, and they came back and got us, man. That was God. I still can't sleep over that.
I know you remember that stuff. That's so true.
Yep.
Oh my God. You got a chance to play with Tony La Russa, right? For at least 1 year. What was he like as a manager?
You know what? I played with him for 3 years. He came in 96 to the Cardinals. And, you know, we were a young team.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, that was Ozzie Smith's final year.
Yeah. Oh, and, that's right.
You know, Tony La Russa came in wanting his respect. And, you know, it was crazy, Sean, because, you know, everybody respects Ozzie Smith, loves Ozzie Smith, and everything goes through Ozzie Smith. And the fact that he came in and then brought Royce Clayton from San Francisco, who was one of the really good young shortstops up and coming, you know, we all kind of scratching our head, you know. And then with Ozzie, he told Ozzie, whoever wins the position in spring training gets to start at shortstop. And we're sitting there like, why would you put that type of pressure on a young kid who has a lot of talent and a great future ahead of him? And then Ozzie went down there and won it outright, you know, outplayed Royce. He was nervous, and you could see that it was dragging him down. And then all of a sudden, opening day in St. Louis, everybody's waiting for the Ozzie Smith's flippity flip to start the season. And Tony was one of those guys that never put the lineup out early. And we're sitting there saying, why don't you put the lineup out so we know who's, you know, we can get our mind right. So we come in on opening day that morning, and Royce Clayton's name in the lineup, starting at shortstop.
Oh, my God.
And every player kind of looked at each other and like, oh, my goodness. Wait until Ozzie get here.
Oh, my God.
Holy cow.
You know what? So, you know what? That's Tony La Russa. You know, he's going to let everybody know it's my team. I'm in control. And that's been his attitude. I mean, he was analytical before there were analytics.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way he managed the game. So he didn't have anybody's respect early this season. I can tell you that now. I started Ozzie Smith. And, you know, we had a lot of – it was a crazy season, Sean, where – it was the players versus the coaching staff and management. And I mean, we had it out in the clubhouse one time after Tony La Russa jumped on John Mabry, one of the nicest guys ever in the game.
Yeah.
And the players came to his defense, and man, it was a crazy year. But about halfway through, we called a team meeting, Tom Pagnozzi, and it became, the players stepping up, and we were going to do it for ourselves. Yeah. Nothing against Tony La Russa, he still had to make the lineup. But we couldn't let that bother us, the way he handled things early in the season. And we made it to the playoffs and really made him look really, really good in 96, to be honest. And so, yeah, he's a tough cookie, man. But, I give him a lot of credit, man. He's a winner. And, he's proven.
Yeah, hey, listen, at the end of the day, you're never going to win that battle when you put Royce Clayton over Ozzie Smith. It was like Barry Larkin towards the end. They bring in Felipe Lopez, all these guys. I'm like, it's Barry Larkin.
Yeah.
You're taking Barry Larkin out of the lineup until Barry Larkin says, I'm done. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that same thought process. So we always like to play this little game. Who owned you and who did you own? So when you go back, who owned Brian Jordan?
You know who owned me was Kurt Schilling. That dang split finger. He owned me early on. And then when I got traded to LA, I met Sean Green. And then Sean Green was one of the smartest guys I've ever known because he could watch video in that first inning, and he knew every pitch that was coming. It was amazing. I was like,
he's legendary for that, right?
He would come
legendary.
to me and say, hey, BJ, you want to know what's coming? And I'm like, dude, no, I don't want to know. Because if I know a curveball coming, I'm going to try to jump out of my shoes to hit it. So then Kurt Schilling came to town, and I said, hey, when is Kurt Schilling going to throw that dang split? And, man, he told me when Kurt goes over his head, he's going to flare that glove. And I was like, no way. And I went up to the plate, and he flared that dang glove. And as soon as he flared that glove, I was like, well, I'm not swinging at this one. And next thing you know, the count's in my favor, and he had to throw me a fastball, and I almost hit him. He ducks out of the way. And I'm on first base, and he looks at me like, you figured something out.
That's awesome.
It was crazy, man. But who I own? Oh, Steve Avery, man. I'll send him a limo to come to the games, man. Him and Danny Nagel. Oh, my God. Danny Nagel. I loved it. They were throwing balloons up there, man.
Oh, my God. That's so great. That's so great. Yeah, Nagel would try and sneak that change up by you probably every once in a while.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. So great. So, Brian, one of the things that I love about you, man, is that, you are a true humanitarian. A lot of things that you've done during your career, but a lot of stuff that you've done, since your career has ended. You have the Brian Jordan Foundation where you give scholarships to a lot of kids that need those scholarships. You're starting to write books, which I think is fascinating, dude. I think when I was doing my research, I'm like, this Brian Jordan's writing books, kids' books. This is unbelievable. Can you talk to us about the books and how did that start and talk to us?
Well, when I started my foundation in 1998, I was still, playing and wasn't even thinking about ending my career. But I wanted to my mom was an educator, and I watched her pour her heart and soul in the special needs kids and giving them hope. So I knew if I ever make it, I was going to start a foundation and provide scholarships for kids who didn't have to get into college and further their education. So, I've been doing that since 98. We've upped the 35 scholarships a year now. And it's to see the smiles on these kids' face. That's what it's all about. Wow. But me, I was like, how can I do more? How can I do more? In 2005, I woke up at 4 a.m. with this idea in my head. And I just started writing it down, and it became my first book, I Told You I Can Play. Wow. And I called my mom, who's an educator, after she just chopped it up with edits.
That's great.
It turned out to be a pretty good book. My kids loved it. So that book, I got a publishing company because I wanted to see where it could go. And then after that, I started self-publishing my books and overcoming the fear of the baseball. So many kids, toddlers get hit. and they give up on the game. I was a kid. I got hit in the face, and I was scared to get back in there. And my dad just kept encouraging me. And by trying again, thank God I did. 15 years of Major League Baseball.
Thank God.
And then my mom, again, is teaching special needs kids. She used to come home and tell me about her kids getting bullied. And so I would go to school and monitor the hallways and see who was getting bullied and become that kid's friend.
Wow.
And now I would pick him for my teams, and all of a sudden, he was never scared again. He gained that confidence. And I encourage kids, if you see it happen, and just become that person's friend. You would save their life. You just never know. And so then I don't know how the heck the chapter book came out, man, but it's a family of dogs, The Adventure of Champ Jr. And it's about a family of dogs where the dogs race to win dog food to feed homeless puppies.
Oh.
And Champ Sr. was like the fastest dog in the world. And him and his wife, who was the second fastest dog, they didn't want their kids going to doggy lane because they knew how rough it was. And that's how he came up, racing other rough dogs. And Champ Jr. is just like his dad. He wants to race and help other homeless puppies like his dad. So him and his sister sneak down there on doggy lane. So it's a cute book, man.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
This is unbelievable. And
yes.
Where does your brain, like when you started to write, did your brain start to shift differently? Like, how do you get these ideas? How you writing about Doggy Champ and this guy, whatever? It's unbelievable.
It's funny, man, because people will say, well, can you write a book tomorrow? Nope. It just has to come, man. I will be on a plane and trying to take a nap, and all of a sudden it's this vision just comes up and I start writing.
Who are you talking to? Who are you who in your head, who are you talking to? Your kids, children? Like who, you know what I'm saying?
Children.
Yeah.
It's all around children. Yeah. It's all around children.
That's brilliant, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I got a couple more books in the pipeline right now. The Little Tiger That Learned Her Way is going to be a special book too.
Great.
Oh, great. So great, dude. BJ, what's your message to kids? Like if you were right now, if you had to sit in front of a bunch of high school kids that age, what's Brian Jordan saying to those guys?
Well, I just did that yesterday in Savannah.
Did you?
Yeah. But, my message to kids is dream big. No dream is too small. And write your goals down. Something my parents made me do. And that will keep you focused, and believe in yourself. Because nobody else going to believe in you, only your parents. But everybody else not going to believe in you. They're always going to doubt you. So it starts with, if you believe, you can achieve. Wow. And that's my message to kids, man.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. This has been so awesome, bro. We have one final thing that we do. It's a game we play called 9 and 90. Go ahead, Chinch. Why don't you tell BJ what we do?
All right. First of all, thank you. This has been amazing, and you're the best, and I'm a huge fan, so appreciate it. I say every time, like, Sean, you have good people around you, so I get to sit there and hang out with you. So this is a stupid game, 9 questions, rapid fire. Basically, it's this or that. So I'll ask Sean a question. Would you rather do this or that? Whatever. He'll answer. You just pick up right off after his answer with your own thought, and then we'll just keep going down the line, okay? It's very dumb. Don't worry about it.
Uh-oh. There we go.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 in 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
All right. Ready, Shawnee?
Yeah.
Morning routine. Do you have to shower to wake up? Leave me alone until I have my coffee, or hungry man breakfast?
I like to do the Peloton. Is that one? Is that one?
Oh, I guess working out. All right, that's fine. Look at that.
Both of us do the Peloton
there you go.
in the morning.
Okay, great. All right, this is a fun one.
We both like the Peloton.
I like to watch the girls on the Peloton.
Me too. That's me go.
Perfect. Oh, this actually segues into the next one. This is more for Sean, because I bet he does this more. Sean, when was the last time you bragged to someone about how much you bench pressed, and how much did you bench?
Oh yeah, I was telling my son the other day that I used to bench 350 at my junior year in Richmond. No. But I came in, I couldn't bench 135, and I left 350.
Wow, those days are over. My son asked me, he said, "Dad, how much did you?" I said, "You know what? Back in the day, I used to lift like 350, And he said, well, can you lift up 225 now? Nope. Nope. My shoulders are gone.
Dude, my shoulders are killing me too. I'm like, I can barely do the bands.
Arthur is setting in right now.
All right, there you go. All right, next one is in honor of Baltimore native Sean. Maryland blue crab, snowballs, or pit beef. Pick one.
Maryland blue crab. You got to go with that.
Yeah, got to go with Maryland blue crab.
Okay.
Got to.
Beautiful. Okay. All right, Sean. Would you make a better MLB manager, NFL head coach, or NBA head coach?
Oh, dude, MLB manager. I got no idea what's happening. NFL, I got no idea, and NBA zero.
Okay, this question was really more for the other guy anyway. So
I'm going with NBA, man. That was my favorite sport, basketball, man. I used to coach my kids in basketball, man. I used to drive them crazy too. I love it.
Awesome. Yes. That's so great. All right, Sean. Winter, spring, summer, or fall?
I like the fall. Fall's my favorite. I'm up here in Pittsburgh. Fall is my favorite time of year. 65, little chill in the air. Friday night football.
Well, for me, I got to go with spring, man. Spring in the air, getting close to spring training. Oh, yeah. Baseball's back.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, a few more. Pick one reality show you would go on and do well on, Sean. Fear Factor, Big Brother, or Naked and Afraid.
I'd be afraid if I was naked, so I'm not going to do that one. I'd probably have to go with Fear Factor. I used to love that show. Like I could I'll eat a scorpion if I have to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not, man. I hate bugs, man.
Me too.
There is no way I'm on Fear Factor, nor do I want to get naked with some other bugs and snakes and stuff, man. So whatever the other two bugs, I'm
Big Brother.
Yeah, Big Brother.
Process of elimination. Yeah. Brian Jordan goes to Big Brother because of the mosquitoes.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, great. All right, Sean, yes or no? I think I know your answer. Could you finish an entire regular-sized pizza in under 10 minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that's easy.
Yes, easy.
You guys are big dudes. I'm a little guys. What would be worse, Sean? Last two. Stuck on an elevator or stuck at the top of a Ferris wheel?
I would say I've been stuck on an elevator, so I don't want to be stuck on the top of a Ferris wheel.
Okay.
Wow. I don't want to be closed in on that elevator. I can tell you that now. So stick me on a Ferris wheel. Long as I know I'm going to live through it.
There you go. Okay, this last one.
Hey, BJ, I think you're a good enough athlete, too. You could probably climb down the Ferris wheel if you had to.
That's right.
Okay, last one. This is for both of you. I believe you should be able to answer this at the same time, but let's see if I get it. What should people be careful not to do at Richmond?
I got it. I got it.
Good.
Don't necessarily jump in the lake.
Wait, what?
Because it's not as clean as you think, and it's not as deep as you think. So I've paid that price before.
Don't go canoeing.
What? Hold on, guys. I thought the line is don't get caught in the web.
Oh, no.
Don't get caught in the web, baby. I love it.
That's the line to end the show. Because anyone that listened to this got caught in the web. Because when Brian Jordan and Sean Casey got together, there's being web spun nationwide. Okay, that's all I know.
You guys make sure you send us to Richmond.
Absolutely.
Believe me, I just talked to Coach Atkins. I'm like, dude, we'll be sending you some clips here soon.
There you go.
BJ, dude, thank you so much for your time, brother. So appreciative of it, man. And like I said, hopefully we'll get a chance. I'm sure I'll see you here in the next few months when the season gets started. But hope you have a great offseason, man, and keep doing the great things you're doing. And thanks for joining us, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime, Sean, man. Nice meeting you too, Rich.
Thank you, sir. It was awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, Sean, I got through a whole show without saying sir, and then I just said sir at the end.
You can't help it, dude. You're like, Mr. Bench, Mr. Leland, sir, Brian Jordan, sir. Like, you guys are almost the same age.
I got respect because I respect people, man.
I know. You're such a respectful guy.
He's so awesome. I'm telling you, I'm so glad we got to talk about how he's one of the greatest athletes of all time, history, no holds barred, and a great guy like everybody else.
I think that's the coolest thing. Like, I hope so many people listen to this episode just to know how great of an athlete Brian Jordan was. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, The only reason he left football was like he said, the Falcons didn't give him a deal quick enough, and the Cardinals gave him so much money to leave. Had he stayed in football, who knows, man? Who knows if we're not saying Brian Jordan, we talked Bo Jackson, we talked Deion Sanders. Who knows if we're not saying Brian Jordan is the greatest athlete ever?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, seriously.
But also,
Jim Thorpe, Jesse Owens, talk about these great, but he plays 3 more years in the NFL at the all-pro level he was playing, bro. He's compared to Ronnie Lott and Rod Woodson. Yeah. We might be talking about the greatest athlete to ever play the game.
Encompass it this way, okay? Knowing what we know and everybody knows about the 2 sports that he played. He had, at one point in this show, talked about how Deion Sanders said, I need you on my football team, don't go. And on the flip side, George Steinbrenner said, I need you on my baseball team, please come.
Right.
That's how good of an athlete he was. Those are 2 of the biggest people. Say whatever you want about Steinbrenner. He knew baseball players and he knew greatness. He wanted you. I need you. Deion Sanders, I can't do this without you kind of thing. And he couldn't. On that specific team, Deion Sanders could not be Deion Sanders if not for Brian Jordan standing right there.
Bro, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to even think about that, and I think when you think about Brian Jordan, and just how much respect he had from, like, you're talking about Deion Sanders, then George Steinbrenner, the best owner in the game, trying to get this guy. I loved him saying, hey, I didn't really fully get my abilities out in baseball because I didn't learn the game the way I knew football. And that's incredible because the guy didn't strike out any less than 88 times, the most he ever struck out in a season, drove in 100 runs a couple times. He hit for power, hit for average, stole bases, played a gold glove defense, and he still never fully grasped baseball. Are you kidding me?
It's crazy.
Like, come on.
Yeah, it's funny when you're in high school and whatever, when you're in high school and you probably played hoops and a couple other things, you're like, I'm a great athlete. And then you come across a guy who's played 2 in college and you're like, oh, well, I'm not that great. And then you look at, there's only 10 people in the history of the world who could even remotely hang out in the same room as Brian Jordan with his athleticism and his skills. And I'm buying every one of those books as soon as we are done. I swear. Me too. The dog book, I almost started tearing up. And you and I both have dogs with the same name, Macy. And I was like, I got to get this. I got to get it.
Dude, I am going to go get his books. I just think I think it's so cool the influence that his dad and mom had on him.
Yes.
Especially his mom as the educator when he said he went to Richmond, wanted to get that degree first. And then, oh, by the way, was going to be a first-round pick in both sports had he not hurt himself in the Senior Bowl. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, dude, I tell you what, when I went to Richmond, bro, my first year there, this guy was all everyone talked about. Brian Jordan this, Brian Jordan that. I'm like, and then I told you, when I got to the big leagues, everyone's like, who'd you want to meet? Do you want to meet McGuire? This guy knows. I wanted to meet Brian Jordan. I wanted to meet Brian Jordan. I was like, this guy's a legend in my eyes, and
amazing.
And like I said, a legendary humanitarian too, what he does with his Brian Jordan Foundation, what he does with these kids' books, what he does influencing guys. Like you said, he's in Savannah right now talking to high school kids. I mean, the guy's giving back. He's really taking it. And I know his faith is a big part of his life, and I'm sure that drives his heart. So I don't know, man. Chinch, that was a good one for me, bro.
I'm so excited.
That was like,
we've been talking about him like, oh, football season's coming up. Brian Jordan. We've been talking about him for like a couple months now. I'm so glad we got it on, and he did not disappoint. More than I could have ever imagined, and I was looking forward to it anyway. So. Yeah,
no, so good, man, so good, and man, awesome guy. Good for us. Good for us. Good for us. High five on that one, bro. High five on that one. And for all the people, good for you guys that are listening to these conversations. Seriously, I'm serious, Chinch. What I said, like, for all the people that are tuning in, like, you're basically sitting here with Chinch and I. We're as fired up as you guys are to get to talk to some of these unbelievable athletes and boxers. We talked to Boom Boom Mancini. We talked to Jerry Ferrara. Michael Malley. Just cool.
Yeah.
All the guys that we've been talking to.
We both come from a format where it's quick, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. My favorite thing that we get to go is just let these guys tell their stories, because you don't get on a network and there's nothing. This is just a different format. Like, you can't go on a network and ask them how their kids are doing. You can't go on a network and ask them, take us back to when you were in 8th grade. If you asked that when I was producing a television show, I'd be like, oh my God, we're going to run out of time. And the fact that these guys,
we got to get the commercials.
And the fact that we can sit there and just hear the stories from good people telling how they grew up, it's been an honor. I like it.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And I just want to say, all the people out there that are still, listening to us, that are finding us. If you just found us, we always say every week, subscribe, download. Chinch and I are still trying to figure out the system, but we know that's important for what we're doing.
We think so.
Please subscribe, please download, and please leave us some comments. And if there's anybody you guys want to hear, we see the comments.
We see them all. We talk back. Shout out to the one guy last night.
Yeah, and we appreciate all the feedback, and we're going to keep delivering every week. And we will hopefully see you guys soon. Go to wherever you find your podcasts. We also up on YouTube, and we're also on nofilter.net. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Chinch, I love you, brother.
Love you, man.
And another great one, man. Yep. I'll see you next week, buddy.